Do we have audio? Check, check. Oh, that looks like a vocal signal. Excellent. Amazing. So, Paiste Party. I guess that gave us a few minutes to get some people in here, huh? Hey, Rob. I miss you too, man. Come out to LA. There's no snow here. So, today I figured we talk about Paiste. A couple of weeks ago marked my exactly 10-year anniversary as a Paiste artist. So, I figured I should take some time and talk about Paiste. And if you guys have any questions, definitely definitely let me know. So, I didn't really set this up clearly. I thought I would have enough time, but then I didn't. But I guess I'll talk a little bit about Paiste itself and how I ended up a Paiste artist. Um, I've always been a Paiste drummer, or a Paiste fan. As a kid, my first cymbals were Paistes, and that was always my preferred brand. And all my favorite drummers were Paiste drummers. So, there really was no other option for me. Um, Growing up, saving up my money during the summer and uh, during the summer jobs I would have, and then buy whatever I wanted. Uh, was super excited about each cymbal, and so played them for years. I had all kinds of exclusive or hard to find sound formulas, and some even a signature 22-inch thin china, which I that still hurts me that I sold that. But anyway, so when I moved to New York in 2004, uh, I ended up selling a bunch of my cymbals just to be able to pay for my visa situation, which was kind of painful, but I had to. And then in 2006, I got a deal thrown in my lap with a different company, which I wasn't really waiting for or looking for, but being pretty broke and needing cymbals, I jumped on it. The only thing that really was solidify the very strong desire to play Paiste. So I resigned at some point, and then in 2011, January 2011, I ended up signing as a Paiste artist. Um, I visited the factory in 2012, which was pretty insane. I don't know if any of you guys are Paiste fans, but the one video that I grew up um, watching over and over was Nico McBrain's "Rhythm of the Beast," and I think it's 1989 or maybe 1990. I think it's 89, right when the signatures came out. And Nico goes to the factory in Switzerland and does a tour and makes his own cymbal and stuff. And um, I watched that religiously. I have the VHS tape that I just wore out. Um, and then so then when I visited the factory in 2012, that was pretty insane because that was like walking into that video, uh, and it was a very surreal experience because I'm just such a fan of the product and the brand and the legacy mostly also all the great drummers that played Paiste that I grew up listening to. Um, so yeah, I grew up playing a lot of the first Alpha line, which was those were the cymbals that were sort of accessible, not too expensive for me to buy as a teenager. And then I ended up adding some innovations at the time, sound formula reflectors, actually, which were really nice cymbals. I'm pretty sure that the current signature reflectors are pretty much identical as far as the crashes go. Um, so yeah, I played those for years. And then, apart from being an artist and purchasing whatever I need um, to do my work, I'm also a little bit of a collector. Not much, not like a few friends of mine who just have insane amounts of Paiste cymbals, but there's a few, cymbals that are sort of legendary cymbals that I really had to have. So, but just to not have to switch all kinds of stuff around immediately, let me just first show you what I have on the kit now. So we'll start with the hats. So these are, I'm going to turn myself up in my headphones so when I'm talking I can hear myself and not have to turn up. Let me see. Channel 2. Here I am. Ah, that's much better. I feel like I'm yelling. So, vocal mic still working? Yep. So these are Dimensions power hats. And on Instagram you can't see it. Let me turn this a little bit. Here we go. So these are 14-inch Dimensions power hats. So if you asked me what would be the quintessential Paiste hi-hat sound, I would say that's these. They have that typical Paiste crispness to them, yet they're very musical. They're heavy, but they're not crazy heavy. They're actually a lot lighter than you would expect because the name power usually stands for the heavy cymbals that Paiste makes. But they're actually really musical, easy to play. They're quick, just super crisp. These would be the kind of hats that you would hear one bar of playing and you know that they're Paistes. So yeah, I'll play a little bit. And of course now that is super loud too. Find a kind of a balance. Hello, mixer. Here we are. Cool. All right, so. So they don't make these anymore, but I absolutely love them. They record really great. Let me see who's in here. Hey, Javier's in here. Artist Relations for Paiste. What's up, dude? And Rob is saying I believe I've used the Wild Crash series. Yeah, the 2002 Wilds. Those are. I used to have a 19. Didn't totally love it, but it has a sound. It's kind of trashy. I kind of regret selling it because after that there were a few situations where it would have been perfect, but that's years ago. Anyway, that's the hats. I love these things. Now, my crashes, I'm just realizing how hard it is to get this into frame on Instagram, but so you should be able to see can you see it on the other camera? So these are the big beats, which I didn't give them much thought when they were released a few years ago. But then as I noticed a few other drummers playing these, I realized how incredible they sound. They're very much a 2002, but they're a little bit more, they're a little bit darker and a little bit quieter. They're not as bright. I mean, if I had to describe it, if you're familiar with Paistes, I would say these are like a 2002 blank that's hammered like a 602 Modern Essentials almost. So that's a 20 and a 19. And, I mean, there's no context now, but in music, they get out of the way, but they're not they're not anonymous or not present or anything. They're just, super musical and a little bit more subdued than your typical Paiste cymbal. Love these things. I need to get a few more. The 21 inch, I think, needs to happen. Let me turn this again. My phone is stuck to my monitor, so to turn my phone, I have to turn my entire monitor. But here we go. Rob is saying, I am still trying to remember the series that I used at the casino gigs we chatted about. I'm not sure. If you tell me when you bought them and when those gigs were, I could probably take a pretty good guess as to what that would have been, or at least what it wouldn't have been. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. So anyway, that's the big beats. Now this ride is a 22-inch 22-inch Dark Energy Mark II. That's also one of the first cymbals I bought actually when I signed on. So this thing is probably 9 or 10 years old. So what I like about it is that the bell is very much like a much heavier cymbal would have. It's not too bright. And then the rest of the cymbal is fairly dark. This is a Mark II, so it's not quite as dark as the Mark I. You can definitely crash it too. I'll use it as a crash ride for like some metal stuff sometimes, like stoner type stuff, like maybe. It works really well for that because it doesn't get completely out of control. But it's very crisp and it's a very versatile cymbal. It's one of those cymbals. If you have to bring one cymbal to a situation where you're going to play a ton of different styles, that would definitely be a good choice. What series did Don Henley use back in the day? I never looked at his setup or anything, but my guess would be 602s or 2002s because that's really all they had at that time, I think. Probably 2002s would be my guess. So anyway, I'm just gonna keep going and show you some stuff. I'll have to walk over to my shelf, but if there's any questions, Porcaro cymbal are always amazing. Yeah, Porcaro used 602s and 2002s. His crashes were pretty much always 2002s, and then right before he passed, he had switched to signatures. On his instructional video, he's using a bunch of prototype cymbals, which I think are 602 alloy at least. But most of the, I think he might have used 3000s at some point for a couple of years. But his signature sound really is 2002s. I think he used like 17, 18, 19, 20, something like that. 76. So 76 would have been 2002s or Formula 602s. Maybe some old Giant Beats, but that's probably unlikely on like a tour or something. Chris, what's up, man? So anyway, is there anyone who wants me to show a specific something, crashes, rides, hi-hats? I can't show you everything because that'll take all day, and that's not going to be that much of an interesting video. What do I use or recommend for chinas? Interesting. I own two chinas. I have 20-inch 2002 Novo, which is probably my favorite china ever made. It's pretty loud, so it doesn't work for everything. It's really a hard rock cymbal, but just the texture of the sound, it's just very much a Paiste cymbal. Yeah, I'll show you my chinas. And the other one I have is a 12-inch or a 14-inch 900 series, but I'll grab them. All right, plug myself back in. I had this all thought out, and in reality, is a little bit of chaos here. I was going to do the lapel mic, but then I figured, yeah, well, in-ears and a lapel mic, I can't go anywhere. So this is the Novo. This was also part of my very first order 10 years ago. And it's still going strong. There's no cracks, nothing, and I use it a lot. 20-inch Novo. Can we see that on the other camera? There it is. So this actually has one of those old stamped serial numbers. Serial number is 2010. So there you go. Love this thing. I can put it somewhere. I'll put it here. This is not where I would normally put it, but just so you can hear it. It's a little bit dusty. I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, there it is. Hold on, you got to do the bass drum triplet thing here. But anyway. So it's very aggressive, but it's not necessarily super bright. So I don't know. It's just I love that thing. And then the other one, which is really sort of an effect cymbal. Put it on that camera there. I got to make sure my face is not in it because it'll focus on my face. So this is a 900 series 14-inch china, which I beat the crap out of, and the edges are all bent and everything. But I mean, this thing is so cheap. If I break it, it's really not a big deal. But it sounds good. I didn't choose it because it was cheap. It just actually sounds really cool. So let me see where I can put this. I'll put it in the same spot. It's a really fun, quick accent, especially if you also have a splash, you know. I mean, again, I only have two chinas because it's pretty rare that a china is the appropriate cymbal to use in a session, but, you know, when it does, it's cool. Or when it is. It's just funky. I like it. So, let me double check all my recording stuff, make sure everything is still going. Yeah. Excellent. All right, cool. So that's my chinas. I have to set it downwards. Yeah, Brian, exactly. What's up, man? The Tico is probably the first guy I saw use one of these on like the unplugged thing. I think he was using one in the 90s. You're talking about the 14-inch that you want me to put upside down? I can. I mean, what I actually do with this 14-inch a lot is stack it, which I guess I'll just do right now. I'll show you how I actually end up using this thing more than how I use this how I just showed it to you. I mean, that sounds cool too, and I'll put it on my left side more than on the right, but I'll show you what I use it for most of the time. So, plug myself back in. So the way I use it more often than not is stacked with or on top of my face is like right in the hole. That's funny. See that? That is a PSTX 18-inch Swiss thin crash. So let me show you. Sorry, this is like juggling wires and so I switched the felts around, but anyway, can you see that? I don't know if you can see it, but it is upside down on top of the PSTX Swiss crash. So that is not tight enough. Let me get the right felts going. That's a little tighter, I think. I went all metal instantly, but that's what I like to use it for most of the time. I'm going to scroll back here because I think I missed a bunch of questions. Rob, the ride I used on the Pink Floyd show we did. So we did Rob was the musical director and guitar player for a Pink Floyd tribute show I did with him, which wasn't just a tribute. We just completely copied everything about Dark Side of the Moon. So I got a whole set of giant beats for that. So the interesting thing is there wasn't really a ride. It was a 18, 19, 20, and 22-inch giant beat. On the original Dark Side of the Moon, he also actually used a 24, I think instead of the 22. But so I used mostly the 20-inch giant beat as a ride on that, which I do still have that. Signature Dark Energy hats. Oh, here. Okay. So, Signature Dark Energy hats. Yeah, why not? I'll be back. Going to be a lot of this back and forth, but we'll get faster at it as we go. They happen to be right in front because I recently used them. So mine are actually, this is a funny story. '15s. I don't know if any of this translates, but so the first time I heard these, I had to have them. And this was like right when I signed on 10 years ago. Actually, long before that, 2 years before that, I had first heard them and really wanted them, but they were discontinued, so I couldn't order them, and they were pretty rare in terms of trying to find used ones. So I searched for years, and I finally found a pair in Brooklyn when I was living in New York. And then that was right before I moved out to LA. And then sure enough, like a year and a half or 2 years later, they reintroduced them. But that's cool. They're identical. And these sound killer, so I'm happy with them. It's just funny that you search for something for a long time and you finally find it, and then they reintroduce them. Okay, so can you all see this? Record. Oh, this is so professional. Make sure this is going, and it is. Okay, we're back. It was also very dark on the other camera, so I turned the lights up a little. I don't like it bright in here, but for some reason that camera needs a lot of light. So, dark energy hats. So, J.R. Robinson uses these, which is not why I got them. That was long before I realized he was using them. But when you see him use these, you understand why they're so great, because they're quick, even though they're big and heavy. So he does all this, the signature sort of. And because they're so low pitched, they're smooth. I mean, I can't play as smooth as JR, but yeah, these are great hats for recording. Okay, let's see what else we got. Gonna showcase a ride that washes and crashes well, that's not too heavy for the studio. Absolutely, I could tell you exactly what that would be. Meanwhile, there's a big stack of cymbals here, but that's just... Alright, so I'll take this one off. So, one of the ride cymbals I end up using the most of all the ride cymbals is this one. On Instagram, you're going to see everything mirrored too, because I can't seem to turn that around. But on the other camera, it's a Formula 602 Modern Essentials 22-inch ride, which might just be the most versatile ride that Paiste makes. So it has exactly everything you just mentioned. So you can crash it. Well, as a ride, obviously, it's great. The bell is awesome. And then as a crash. It's a fantastic big crash, which I don't think I own another cymbal that is equally as great a big crash as it is a ride that's still not too washy. Like this is still a pretty, very defined ride sound. yeah, this is like one of those, if you're not sure what to bring this. I really like to use it like laying the stick just flat on the whole cymbal. It has a big dynamic range. You can get really jazzy on it, and you could totally use it for a metal gig too. So that's that. Love that thing. 602's Modern Essentials are really incredible either way, all of them. See you, Rob. Thanks for hanging. So that's that thing. So that's already covering a bunch of stuff. So one cymbal that's kind of special, I did a whole video about it. It's the Nickel McBrain ride. So I would just ask you to go and check out that video because that's special. So I'm not going to spend time on that here. What else? Let me just go have a look and pick out something cool to show you. Actually, this is a really good one to talk about for a minute. So this, I have two of these actually. I like it so much. It's the only cymbal that I actually have two of. 20-inch medium. Try to not get my face in there because it'll focus on my face instead of the cymbal. But anyway, this is a 20-inch 2002 medium, which is probably, if you can only bring one ride, I would say bring the Modern Essentials. If you can only bring one cymbal, I would bring this one. I'll put it up here. It's not super light, but it's also not super, well, it's medium, I guess, huh? That's pretty genius. So it's a little bit heavier than a regular 2002 Crash, so it cuts a little bit more. It has a little more shimmer to it, but it's really a great ride also. So if I do like a karaoke bar gig where I just bring hi-hats and one cymbal, I bring that thing. So as a Crash, really, I mean, that's like a super classic Paiste Crash, And then I guess Bonham used one of these on his right side. And then as a ride, it's a pretty modest ride, but it works, especially in a low volume setting. It's not a good place for a ride up here, but yeah, I would have it down here, but it's really great. I'm thinking about getting the Signature Mellow 22. Do they make a 22-inch Mellow ride? Well, if they do, I bet it's amazing. I'm thinking about getting the also reintroduced 22-inch Signature Full Ride, which is a cymbal I really wanted as a kid. So it's kind of like I should get it just because I always wanted it. Paiste Cymbals joined. I'm not sure who that is at the office, but what is up? Thank you for the beautiful cymbals. Just released. Yeah, that 22-inch Full Ride was on my... It's funny because it's on my list discontinued symbols that I really, really want to search for, and like I have like an eBay search I had going forever. But now that it's re-released, I'm suddenly not in a hurry anymore because I'm not worried of the world running out of them. But that's a beautiful symbol. It's a really great all-round symbol for pretty much anything. It will be brighter than the Modern Essentials, but just a great extra flavor. So, signatures. Actually, let me show you another pair of hats that I really love and use a lot. So, I'll put these back. I have to unplug myself again. Sound. Can we get this in the 602 heavy hats, which are also freshly reintroduced. These were the hats that Jeff Porcaro used most of his career, except he used the Blue Label ones. So these were also long on my list of hats that I had to have. If you've watched Jeff's instructional videos, the hi-hats on that are just so amazing, and that's these. And as I've mentioned before, the great thing about Paiste is that they're so consistent that these are just going to be identical to those. And again, this is all without context, so they'll sound great, but you really have to hear them in a musical context. But they're very smooth, but they're chunky. They're not too loud, and they're very crisp. But because it's the 602 alloy, they're a little bit lower in pitch than, for instance, a 2002. So the great thing about that is that you can get a heavy hi-hat without it being too bright or too high-pitched. Instagrammers, you can't see it. There they are. Now, the cool thing is that a friend of mine, Cade, who is the owner of Savage Custom Drums, he has a pair of the original Blue Label ones from the 80s that he's going to bring to me next week when he's in town. So I'll be comparing them, maybe do a video about it. That'll be pretty cool. Any questions or requests? Apart from not drinking spoons. I mean, I could go on forever. So I guess I should show you my all-time favorite ride cymbal. I'll tell you a little bit about it once it's up. I'll be back in a sec. So this, plug me in. This is the Masters 24-inch deep ride, which is the JR signature. It actually has the Rock With You Michael Jackson drum intro transcribed on it. Something like that. Am I going to be doing a Tama, Bell Brass, and Savage comparison? I absolutely am. I posted that to my Instagram story yesterday. But that's not the subject now. But yes, it will happen. There's going to be two identical drums, same hardware, only difference being the shell. One is original Tama, one is a Savage. And then there will be a 3mm and a 5mm. So. But yeah, so this is the deep ride. It doesn't work for everything, but it works for a lot. And if I can use it, I will. It doesn't crash as great as, for instance, the Modern Essentials. It's interesting. It will crash pretty well when you're in a big room or on an outdoor stage. It tends to be, I don't know, it tends to be a little bit floppier and more, it'll feel thinner, which is very strange. But in a studio, it won't really crash really well. But, you know, whatever. I just love the cymbal. It is really interesting how they managed to get a perfect blend of something that's pingy but dark but not ugly. Because a lot of times when something is dark and somewhat dry and pingy, it's not musical, like most of the time. I mean, other brands or cymbals I've come across. But this thing... This is one of those cymbals, when I put it up, I'll just, you can't stop me from just playing for hours. This thing just sucks you in. It wants to keep being played. And it has, because it's a 24, which is a pretty big cymbal, of course, it has a lot of different sounds when you play it in different areas. With a smaller ride cymbal, there's not as much of a difference between, for instance, right by the bell or on the edge. But on this thing, like it gets quieter and a little washier on the edge. I'm hitting it just as hard. And then what I really like too is to just lay the stick on it flat. A lot of hard rock stuff that I do, or alternative stuff, I like to just, because it's, I should have showed you, but it's not lathed on the bottom, which makes it fairly dry. So this is another one, just like that Dark Energy cymbal. You can lay into it and it never really gets completely out of control, especially for a 24. It's remarkable how it does not get away from you. So I like to do this. It has a very cool sound when you just slap the stick flat on it. There's really not a lot of cymbals that can handle that without just getting completely out of control. But the attack of the shoulder or the shaft of the stick flat on the cymbal, it has a very interesting, different sort of texture than just the tip of the stick. A lot of cymbals will get completely out of control when you do that, but this thing doesn't. So it has a little bit of glassiness, but it's still dark. Just love that thing. What else? So let me see what else I can show you. If I can get out, yes. Yes, I have to show you these. So this is kind of funny. When you buy used stuff at Guitar Center, when someone trades something, I mean, I might be destroying this whole thing right now, but in general, at Guitar Center, when someone trades something in or sells something to them, or when they resell it as used, I think they'll sell it generally at half of the new price. If it is still available new, or they'll look up whatever the price used to be. So I was at Guitar Center in Sherman Oaks here in LA, and I found these. So these are, I mean, I don't think you'll be able to see the serial number, but you'll have to believe me that this is a 1974 serial number. And these are 14-inch just hi-hat, which would translate to currently the medium hats. So they had these priced at, I believe, $150 or $140, which is, you know, the second I saw them, I didn't even have to hear them. And they sound really, really nice. Now these won't sound like the current ones because they're a little bit dirty. It's not because they're not made the same way, but these have aged in a way where they just won't sound the same, but they're pretty thin and dark. I mean, especially for B8 bronze, the 2002 bronze, they're pretty dark, but they're just really great for like funky stuff, like Motown type stuff, whatever. I'm not plugged in. Here we go. So I'm not yelling. I mean, very subtle, very musical, very fast. A little bit quiet, but not too quiet. Also very fun to play. These are probably, of all the hats I own, these are the easiest to play because they feel so light on the stick and they respond super fast. So they're really great for low volume stuff just because a lot of times when you play cymbals really lightly, they tend to not respond the way that you expect them to, but these do. So love these. So I'll just speed this up because then as I was looking at these, I have another pair that I want to show you guys. By the way, in case you were wondering, these are awesome. I've been an endorsing artist for Simbag for probably close to 15 years, if not longer at this point. They're great for storing cymbals so they don't scratch, they don't get dusty. You can even put them on, the way that they're made, you can put them on when your cymbal is on the stand. You don't have to take it off the stand. So if you have a rehearsal space that you share with other people, you have your kit set up, and you just want to keep your cymbals dust free while other people are in the room. You're done practicing, put these on. So this is another Guitar Center find. Rude, which are also still being made. But these are from 1984. And they're also a little bit dirty. And I haven't cleaned them since I got them because they sounded perfect. And they are pretty incredible. So this would have been, since they're from 84, this is what Terry Bozzio would have been using. I think Stuart Copeland also, from the exact same era. And they're a little bit darker than new ones. I compared them to new ones, but that's just because they're a little bit dirty. But as opposed to all other Rude cymbals, these aren't like super heavy, loud metal cymbals. They're very... I use these on pop gigs all the time, more than metal stuff actually. So they're very articulate, very crispy, and the open sound, half open sound, is very it's a very big sort of texture rather than a very fine texture like the previous ones I played. See, it has like that, which blends really well in like a big chorus, but they don't, because they're older and a little bit dirty, they don't overpower the music. They're pretty relatively quiet. Sometimes cymbals have to sort of get settled when you freshly put them on a stand. But so really like those, end up using those quite often. Make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't think I did. So that's those. Really like them. And then, I mean, like I said, at this point it's becoming a little bit hard to pick and choose because I can't show everything because it'll take too long. But I guess hi-hats and ride cymbals are a little bit more sort of, crucial in terms of composition, because they, especially hi-hats, they'll be played throughout the song. So I have the most flavors in my hi-hats and my rides. I do have quite a bit of crashes, quite a few. Signatures, 602, Modern Essentials. But yeah, I started off with these big beats, this video, and honestly, since I got these, they haven't really, I haven't really taken them off the stands. They just, I don't know. I think those are my all-time favorite crashes. If the context doesn't really matter, of course, when I have a session, I'll have to pick whatever works for this session. But if cool, we're back. Camera keeps running out. Cool. So I'm going to show you one more pair of hats. These, plug myself back in. These are the hats I use, I would say, almost half the time. Modern Essentials 15s. I have a piece of tape on the bottom just to keep it from ringing too much. These are probably the most versatile hats I have. It wasn't the first pair of 15s I owned, but the first pair of 15s I owned that didn't feel like 15s. Those Dark Energies I played earlier, they're definitely big hats. They're still kind of quick, but they definitely feel like 15s. But these are quick. And they don't really sound big, but it's just it brings the pitch down to size, Very buttery, easy to play. They're 602 alloys, so they're a little bit quieter and warmer than some of the other hats, but incredible dynamic range. And now I'm seeing that the battery's running out on the other camera. So I'm wrapping this up, at least on YouTube, before the battery's done. I'll continue for a minute on Instagram. Thanks, man. Yeah, these are very musical. Again, there's no context. Maybe I'll do something where I just have like a piece of music and I just play different passages or different the same passage with different hats, so you can